Morning everyone and welcome to Gazzetta Football Italia. It looks like being another exceptional week for us on the show because, as you can see, sitting right next to me is Roberto Mancini, one of the most charismatic players in the world of Italian football, but a man who, like many genius footballers, is a mass of contradictions, and we're going to be speaking to him about that later on.
No, you won't.
I thought we had an appointment.
No, you don't.
Oh, I see. Right. With me here, ladies and gentlemen, is Roberto Mancini, with whom we won't be speaking later on.
Yes, you will.
Right, and when won't we be speaking to you, Roberto?
Part 3.
In part 3.
Part 2.
Right. Well, anyway, here's Ken now with all the other great stuff that we don't have coming up in today's show.
Yes, you do.
In today's show, and with the race for the championship well and truly on, we've got all the action that counts from last weekend in Serie A. James meets up with Serie A's first ever South African international, the Lazio defender Mark Fish, and runs the rule over the week's big stories. We've got highlights from a big match as Juventus bid for top spot in their rearranged league game with Udinese played this midweek. And in a packed show, we look forward to tomorrow's live game with Sampdoria captain Roberto Mancini as he prepares to face a club he came so close to joining, Inter.
Excellent. Well, quite a menu to look forward to there. Lots of meaty action, plus a fish course too, served up as ever with plenty of relish. Anyway, while Mancho and I get munching, it's time for you now to take a trip back to the heady days of last weekend, Sunday to be specific, and the battle for the top of Serie A. We start off with Milan against Udinese and their battle to rejoin the chase for the Scudetto.
This was Arrigo Sacchi's first league game at the San Siro since his return as the Milan coach. His side produced another below-par display, but were unlucky not to take the lead when Boban's effort struck both uprights. The referee decided the ball hadn't crossed the line. Sacchi decided to drop Rossi for this game, preferring to play Pagotto in goal. His decision was soon justified. At half-time, Savicevic came on as a substitute, and it took the Montenegrin just 6 minutes to make his mark. In contrast to Boban's earlier effort, this goal was allowed to stand. But so was Stroppers for Udinese 5 minutes later. He scored against his former team. Milan's response owed everything to Weah's subtlety. Aranio made it 2-1 midway through the second half. With 20 minutes left, Swedish international Jesper Blomqvist made his Milan debut. Having set up Aranio, George Weah was desperate for a goal of his own. He hasn't scored in Serie A since October and seems prepared to try anything. All he got was a booking. Costa Curta rarely gets into the opposing penalty area, and the sight of goals seemed to bring on a rush of blood. Calori took exception to the defender's reckless challenge. Costa Curta was cautioned and then red-carded for shamefully poking Calori in the eye. Milan would have expected more from an established international and ultimately managed to earn maximum points thanks only to their young goalkeeper, Angelo Pagotto. It ended 2-1, although when Weah was put through by the new signing Blomqvist, he missed the chance to make the winning margin more emphatic. So Milan scraped their first win in over a month. Elsewhere last Sunday, the city rivals Inter were aiming to return to the top of Serie A at the expense of the league leaders Vicenza. Commentary from Ray Wilkins and Peter Brackley.
Here's Otero now, who scored the first one against Juventus. Di Carlo! Ghosted into space then. Chance, Maini! Vicenza lead. That was great football all round, Peter. Wonderful run from Di Carlo through the middle of the penalty box. Beautiful pass to pick him out. And then showing tremendous composure there just to knock that ball back from Maini to wrap inside the far post. Di Carlo. Now can they strike again here just before half-time? Inter will need to retain their composure at the back. Oh, Pagliuca just scooped it away. That's an incredible save, Peter. That's a fantastic ball in. The delivery's the whole thing. Mojita's had a very, very quiet first half, just getting a glancing header to it. And Pagliuca down like a shot to his left-hand side. Tremendous save.
He was the first to react then. It's a good ball in too from
It's a great ball in. A lot of pace, really well whipped in. Pagliuca doing exceptionally well there.
Zamorano. This is Otero on the break for Vicenza. Maini. Mojita, who's drifted out wide. Maini has continued his run. Mojita, little ball here for Ambrosetti. Good block by Pagliuca, who came out very, very quickly then to confront him.
It's fantastic football, Peter, breaking very, very quickly from the middle of the field. With Ambrosetti's left foot, I thought he was just going to blast that. He's actually mishit it, Mojita. It comes across the goal. Pagliuca does exceptionally well here to block this. It's a great save.
Djorkaeff looking to release Branca. Down goes Sforza. It's a penalty. Sforza tumbled in the box. No hesitation from Cesare. Yellow card for D'Annunzio for protesting. Came out of nothing, really.
Yes, it did. It was a long, hopeful ball through. It's a nice little flick on there from Branca.
Here's Djorkaeff. All the pressure's on him now. Has Mondini been watching as much as Ray Wilkins has, I wonder? He's beaten him.
Well, he had to change sooner or later, and he's gone the other side this time. But that's the first time in 4 penalty kicks that he's put it to the goalkeeper's right-hand side.
Sartor. Picked on by Mojita. That was Maini. Doesn't fall for Baguetto, but it is Di Carlo. And off. Otero's put it wide. Oh, that was an amazing escape for Inter. Otero of all people.
Good grief. Once again, Pagliuca flapping at a ball. He's made 2 or 3 tremendous saves, but it has to be said that he has flapped at several shots that have come in, and that one, he just packs it up. And I think it's Di Carlo who's had a great game. Hits it on the volley. It's a difficult one for him. It bounces just in front of him, but there he just packs it up.
So Inter escaped with a point, but Vicenza stayed top. However, if third-place Juventus won in Genoa, they would claim a share of the Serie A leadership. Commentary from Gary Bloom.
It's going to be another corner. Veron got the ball out of play. Here's Ferrara, a goal for Juventus. Ciro Ferrara scores. His last one came in mid-October in Juve's 2 undefeated Vicenza. And while Sampdoria were worrying about Del Piero and Boksic, a central defender, Ciro Ferrara scores. Mihajlovic with a corner. Franceschetti! I think it was Dimash who got it clear. Franceschetti, who's never scored a goal for Sampdoria, came very close here. And Dimash, unwittingly, almost took the ball over his goal line. Dimash. Zidane. This is Del Piero. No penalty. Pesaresi and Mihajlovic converged on Del Piero, and surprisingly no penalty kick was given in Juventus's favour. This is Montero. Oh, goodness me. Montero, who's never scored a league goal for Juve, and it took a deflection as well. This is Manini. And Mancini! Still no way through for Sampdoria's leading goal scorer. He really got hold of this volley, and the ball set up well for him too.
Jugovic swaps passes with Zidane. Foul by Manini. And Balleri could be in trouble with the referee as we look again at this slow motion replay. Balleri has already been cautioned, and for something he said to the referee, David Balleri is sent off. The incident was nothing to do with Balleri. He had no need to get involved. Zidane. Deschamps now for Juve. And Juve are onside. Padovano could win the match. Ferron saved with his knees. And here comes Sampdoria. Montella, oh, what a weak finish. Well, both sides had a chance to score there in the space of 60 seconds. Montella knows he should have done better. But at the other end, Padovano could have made it 2-0 to Juventus here with a more telling finish.
That's 5 straight wins now for Juventus, and those 3 points meant the reigning European champions have earned themselves a share of top spot in Serie A. In part 2 of today's programme, the rest of the Week 12 action, including highlights of the Rome derby and an exclusive interview with Latvia. Welcome back. In a couple of minutes, we meet up with Lazio's new South African star. But before that, let's see how he got on playing his first ever Rome derby. Commentary from Gary Bloom.
Proti, he's won the ball as well. Nedved in support. And through to Signori. And Signori knows he should have drawn Sturkele into a save. Signori takes the corner. This is Fuzet. Oh, and he's got round the back of the Roma defence and tried to screw the ball in from an improbable angle. Aldair blocks the cross, but what a let-off for Roma. Zdenek Zemen's side almost take the lead with a goal of rare quality from Diego Fuzet. Turn. And Del Vecchio's through the middle here. Chamot did just about enough to put him off. Marco Del Vecchio with a really good opportunity here for Roma. Now what can Lazio do with this free kick? This is Proti. Oh! He knows how close that shot came. Just dipped away from goal at the last moment. And Lazio have had the better scoring opportunities. Corner then to Roma. Di Biagio! Di Biagio back from suspension, almost back with a goal. Wasn't an easy chance for him, he was turning away from goal when the corner came in. It took a deflection of Proti, who was virtually on the goal line. Chamot. Through to Pavel Nedved. Just unable to keep his shot down. And the Czech Republic international just unable to bring a scoring finish to a very, very promising move. And Balbo's through. Can he win it in stoppage time? Wonderful save by Marcagiani. And Roma, who've only won one of their last 6 league games, almost won the Rome derby here.
Born half man, half fish, young Billy Thompson's dream was to play in goal for Fulchester United, and that dream came true in the pages of Viz magazine. Alongside the large-breasted, red-skinned winger Brown Fox, Shakin' Stevens, and naturally Johnny X, the invisible target man, he featured in a lineup to make any manager moisten. Why do I mention all this? Well, because this season the exciting news is that Serie A club Lazio, who we've just seen here at the Olimpico in the derby, whilst they haven't signed a Redskin winger named Brown Fox, or for that matter, Johnny X, although how anyone could tell, I'm not entirely sure, they have now got a fish in their pool of players. Mark Anthony Fish, to be precise, no relation apparently, but still a young South African with a very interesting career behind him.
Here I am playing for Lazio in Rome, and it's everyone's dream to be here, and I'm very fortunate.
How open is football, or was football in South Africa? Was it, I mean, was it a very open thing was it a traditional sport for like white kids to get into at all, or no?
Well, I think in the 60s and 70s it was, but you know, through the politics in South Africa, a lot of the youngsters were directed to play rugby in the country, so it wasn't really prestigious. Or, you know, when you left primary school, a lot of the kids started playing rugby, and I was, you know, one of the few that continued to play football, and you know, glad that I did.
Born and raised in Pretoria, Fish is only the second South African ever to grace Serie A. And whilst so far he's not made too big a mark here, back home he is the business, dubbed there indeed the new Beckenbauer. A few facts: he's been an international since the age of 17. At 20 he was South Africa's youngest ever player of the year. In 1995 his side, Orlando Pirates of Soweto, were club champions of all Africa, and this year he starred of course in the Bafana Bafana, the South African national side, as they emerged victorious in the African Nations Cup. There Mark Fish was both the player of the tournament and the crowd's firm favourite, the entire stadium indeed religiously droning his name every time he touched the ball.
You know, through the success and during the African Nations Cup, having all the rival teams all coming to watch Bafana Bafana and supporting me, and you know, echoing my name when I touched the ball, it's sent shivers down my spine. So it was really inspirational. You know, just basically just happy that the national team won, and what we did for the country. I think that we brought a lot of the cultures and different races together to support Bafana Bafana, which was very great to see.
Mandela was a big fan though, wasn't he, during the...
Well, if you're going to ask me about Mandela, I'm going to sit here the whole night talking about him, because he's a man amongst men, and he's indescribable. I can't describe him. I've met him, I think, about 5 times now, and every time I shake his hand, it's a different experience, and he's got so much aura, and the people got so much respect for him that I really can't sit here and describe him. People have to respect him for what he wants to do for the country and what he is doing for the country, being in prison for such a long time and wanting to come out to unite the country, and basically that's what Bafana Bafana did. So, you know, I think we combined it well together, and I'm speaking for the whole national team, and I'm sure for the whole country, that he was our inspiration, and that's where the country is going. I think that we can only go forward with a man like that in control.
After all of the successes in South Africa, naturally Fish's stock rose considerably. Manchester United, amongst other big clubs, were on his tail for some months, seeking his signature. However, it was to Rome that Fish decided to come, a city with, if nothing else, a fine tradition in Praetorian Guards. At Lazio, though, no longer a big fish in a small pond, Mark has had an unexpectedly tough time of it. Mistakes in the opening game against Bologna cost him confidence, and with 2 internationals, Chamot and Nestor, ahead of him, he soon found himself out of the side and considering a transfer. However, since mid-November, a change has arrived. He is now starting games, and this Sunday for the Corriere dello Sport was indeed the revelation of the derby. His performance described as faultless. A couple of weeks into the season, you were already having your doubts about the whole experience for various reasons.
Well, I think that I did have that doubt in my mind, but it was also had to do with being in a new country, me being a South African, being away from home. I had all those factors affecting my way of thinking. At that time, my way of thinking was the defence wasn't the problem in the team. I thought there was more the midfield, and I didn't see why they actually signed me. And then I spoke to Mr. Zeman, and you know, Chamot plays left back for Argentina, and Nestor plays right back for Italy. So I didn't see, you know, what was the reason why they signed me if they're not going to play these players at their natural positions. But you know, once again, I just got to respect his way of thinking, and just play when I get the chance, just do my best, and hopefully convince the man that he's got to keep me in the squad.
Right. Is morale a bit higher now? Because it must have been rock bottom at the start.
I'd say it's improved very much. So it was rock bottom, and players came to training looking not forward to training and very depressed. But I think it's the last couple of results have lifted their heads, and the players are looking forward to things will just keep on improving, and Leicester will end up doing well for the rest of the season.
Right, they haven't started shouting "Fish" at the Olympico yet, have they?
Not yet, but
a matter of time.
Matter of time, yeah.
Okay. Mark Fish then, a brill bloke, if I may, and now that he's found a place in the side, no doubt he'll be scaling the heights in Serie A too. Certainly hope so. Anyway, time for us now to turn our thoughts back to last weekend's action in Serie A. The remaining 5 games rounded up for us by Kenneth Wolstenholme, beginning with Bologna-Piacenza.
Bologna dominated this match but found it difficult to beat Taibe in the Piacenza goal. Things were made easier for Bologna when the referee reduced Piacenza to 10 men. Pari was awarded his second caution for this foul on Scapolo. The former Napoli midfielder just couldn't understand it. The referee's decisions were certainly going Bologna's way. They were awarded a penalty after Di Francesco's challenge on Paramati. However, Igor Kolivanov was kept out by Taibe. But from the resulting corner, Bologna finally took the lead through Paramati. The referee decided the ball had crossed the line, which was lucky for Scienza, who escaped a red card for handling. But 10-man Piacenza fought back. An outstanding header from Tentoni levelled the scores in stoppage time and earned the away side a point. It was Tentoni's first Serie A goal for the club. Around 50,000 fans, Napoli's biggest crowd of the season, watched their side dominate struggling Verona, whose goalkeeper, Guadalban, was kept busy all afternoon. Verona were then saved by an upright after Turini curled his free kick round the defensive wall. Turini was at the heart of all Napoli's best moves, but the Azzurri found it hard to break down the team with the worst defensive record in Italy's top flight. Napoli, who'd scored in every league game since the first week of the season, seemed destined for a goalless draw. Until stoppage time, that is. Enter Mauro Milanese, who won the game with a blistering drive from the edge of the area. The fullback last scored a year and a half ago for Cremonese. His first for Napoli will live long in the memory. Perugia had never won away to Fiorentina in Serie A, and it was only thanks to their keeper, Alex Skocic, that they went in level at the interval. The Yugoslav keeper saved his side on numerous occasions, showing both courage and agility. A minute before half-time, Fiorentina got the break they were looking for. Allegri was penalised for handling the ball and then sent off for protesting against the penalty. However, Batistuta still had to get past Kocic, who rescued Perugia for the umpteenth time. Down to 10 men, Perugia finally succumbed to Fiorentina's onslaught. Batistuta made amends for his penalty miss. But Fiorentina's lead lasted just 6 minutes. Galtieri rounded Toldo before claiming Perugia's equaliser. The away side may have thought that they'd turned the corner, but Rui Costa restored Fiorentina's advantage with a spectacular solo effort. Toldo kept his nerve to keep Fiorentina ahead, while Robiati lost his and was dismissed after receiving a second caution. 4 minutes from full-time, Fiorentina secured a hard-fought victory by scoring another goal of outstanding quality. Oliveira took his tally to 5 in Serie A. And in stoppage time, the home side added another. Rocco diverted the ball past the unfortunate Kocic to make the final score 4-1. Mario Stanic made his debut for Parma following his recent move from Bruges. the Croatian showed enough to suggest that he'll prove an asset to an ailing team, which had failed to win any of its previous 6 games. Stanic supplied the cross which almost produced a goal for Dino Baggio. Inzaghi was Atalanta's most potent threat up front and came close to putting one over on his former teammates. The arrival of Stanic has certainly given Parma more options in attack, but on this occasion he was denied by Bonacina. Dino Baggio did well to keep the move going, and once again it was the Croatian on the end of it. In the second half, Stanic should have won the game for Parma. Only he'll know how he failed to mark his Serie A debut with a goal. Cagliari were awarded a penalty after only 9 minutes. Dario Silva made the most of Parente's challenge. Indeed, the two players had a running battle during the whole of the first half. Pancaro thundered the home side ahead. It was the fullback's first Serie A goal since the opening day of the season. Reggiana were unlucky not to go into the break on level terms. Adolfo Valencia struck an upright. A minute before half-time, Dario Silva and Parente, the two players involved in the penalty incident, took their feud a little too far. Following another heated exchange, the referee decided to send off both players. 3 minutes into the second half, Reggiana drew level. Hatz's header was helped in by Pancaro, who'd now scored at both ends. It was Reggiana's first away point of the season. And that's it from the Week 12 action, and for Part 2. After the break, James has all the week's news. There's highlights from Juve's bid to go top of Serie A.
Welcome back, everyone. Right, in the final part of this morning's programme, we're going to be meeting up with Mancini and seeing whether Juventus can go clear at the top of Serie A in their match against Udinese. First of all, though, the week's papers await us, and they're packed this morning, agreeably enough, with the Swedish tempters, big butts, and a pair of fine-looking draws. We'll start with the Swedish bit anyway. Sven-Göran Eriksson, coach, of course, of Sampdoria, who, contrary to expectations, does now seem to be heading to Blackburn Rovers for next season. He refuses to comment on the story, but the Corriere dello Sport, that's Bible of Babel, not only reckons that he's already signed a 5-year deal with Rovers for a whopping £1.5 million a season, but also they say he's taking Mancini with him. Here's the headline: Eriksson Mancini to Blackburn, and underneath they quote Roberto as saying, "For you, coach, I'd go to the end of the world." That's no way to talk about Blackburn, Roberto. Well, anyway, when we talked to Mancini this week about the whole idea, he denied that he at least would be making the move to Rovers, even if Eriksson might be. Interesting. Anyway, moving on to our next two stories, which equally have a Sampdoria theme. First of all, Claudio Caniggia has been in talks with the club in the last week. Caniggia, an Argentine international, previously, of course, at Roma, is a man for whom Coke didn't so much add life as a 1-year international ban from FIFA following a failed drugs test. He's now the property of Boca Juniors, but the idea has been discussed this week of a loan to Sampdoria for the rest of this season. Now, the other Samp story revolves a possible change of ownership at the club. Current president Enrico Mantovani has faced progressively tighter finances in the last couple of years and has hinted several times that he is ready to sell. Who'd be the buyer, though? Well, step forward family friend Ernesto Pellegrini, the multi-millionaire caterer who sank untold millions into Inter Milan in his 10 years there before selling up in February '95. Pellegrini and Mantovani have met for talks in the last couple of weeks, as yet, though, nothing more concrete has emerged. Well, on now, anyway, to the big butt, the violent headbutt, that is, with which George Weah is alleged to have broken the nose of Porto player George Costa after the Porto-Milan Champions League match on the 20th of November. Costa certainly looked a mess after the events in the tunnel, the normally well-behaved Weah maintaining, though, that he was provoked into the attack by racist abuse from the Portuguese player. Whatever, the, if you will, madness of King George looks set to cost him dear, because his victim has now decided to press charges, firstly for defamation following those accusations of racism, and secondly for, of course, the broken nose and the time off recovering, for which, incidentally, Costa is asking £500,000. Wow, not even Caniggia's nose was that expensive. Well, Portuguese police now want to interview George Weah next time he sets foot on Portuguese soil, which looks like being the 20th of January, when he should be in Lisbon to collect, irony of ironies, the FIFA Fair Play Award for 1996. Now, Weah has already served a 1-game temporary European ban for the incident, missing out, of course, in Milan's recent loss to Rosenborg. This Monday, though, we'll hear UEFA's definitive suspension, and talk here is of it being probably 6 European matches, all of which by now would have to come next season. All of which has further fueled those recent rumours that Milan might actually sell Weah come this summer. While we're at it, probably worth mentioning the stories in the English and Italian press this week of Milan moves for Fabrizio Ravanelli and Everton's Russian winger Andrei Kanchelskis. For a club that, like Milan, has just had to cover a £20 million deficit for 95-96, that's a very impressive shopping list. Well, on now, anyway, to the pair of draws, the quarter-final matchups, that is, that were announced this week by UEFA for the UEFA Cup and the Cup Winners' Cup. Inter in the UEFA Cup have managed to avoid both Newcastle and Monaco, and instead will face the fading Belgians Anderlecht. Fiorentina, meanwhile, over in the Cup Winners' Cup, will be up against Benfica, Rui Costa's old side. Both Italian teams seemed overall happy with their opponents, and those games will be coming up in March, when, of course, Juventus will also be in action in the Champions League, and as we discovered last week, they'll be facing Rosenborg. Well, on now to our final story this morning, and it's some very sad news from Castel di Sangro, which had been famous for being probably the smallest town ever to get a team into Italy's Serie B. They have just 5,500 inhabitants. Well, this week, the festive atmosphere around the football club was ended when two of their players, Danilo Di Vincenzo and Filippo Biondi, died in a rather horrific car crash on Italy's main motorway, the A1. They were returning from a day off. Police reckon they were doing about 120 miles per hour when their car hit a guardrail before veering into the side of a lorry parked in a nearby lay-by. As you can see, the vehicle completely destroyed. The funeral of the two players was held on Wednesday, with naturally the entire town present and messages of condolence from everyone from Real Madrid to Milan. Sad business. Anyway, that's where we'll leave the papers for this week. Coming up now, our final game of the morning, which is Udinese against Juventus, a match this held over from week 10 of the season when Juve were off in Tokyo playing River Plate. Well, thus they and Udinese finally got to meet this Wednesday night in Udine, and a chance here for Juventus to go clear into the lead in Serie A if they could win. Let's find out if they could take that chance with Gary Bloom.
Poggi has gone down. Desideri's now seen that, and Poggi is going to need some attention here. He wasn't involved in an incident with another player. Suddenly pulled up. Poggi back on the field. That's good news for Udinese. And Boksic is onside here. Hits the post. Scores! The long wait is over for Alan Boksic. It's his first Serie A goal for 3 months. Even then he saw his shot hit the uprights, and this time he had fortune on his side as it rebounded into his path. Del Piero. Boksic, brought down by Bia, and a penalty. So Boksic, who scored Juve's opening goal, could well have found the path to their second. Sucked Bia into that challenge, and what a chance now for Juventus. It's Del Piero to take it, and it's 2. Del Piero converted Juve's one previous spot kick this season. That came at Old Trafford against Manchester United in the Champions League. Stropper dispossessed. Torricelli. Del Piero now. And he's been hauled back by Calori. And another penalty. Calori was involved in the bust-up which saw Costa Curta sent off last Sunday against Milan. And now he's given away a penalty. Juve had to wait over 3 months for their first penalty in Serie A. Now they're awarded 2 in the space of 8 minutes. And they score 2. And 2 for Alessandro Del Piero. His 7th goal of the season in all competitive games. Boksic tries to get away from Bia. Zidane. Away by Stropper. Clemente with that quick free kick. Poggi's through here. Terrific save by Peruzzi. Caprioli unable to beat Peruzzi again. 2 wonderful saves by the Juve goalkeeper. No wonder he's Italy's first choice. The second was even better than the first.
a save by Peruzzi to deny Giovanni Beer a goal. He virtually defied the laws of gravity there. Udinese really pressing for a goal. Peruzzi gets it clear and has to make the save. He might have to make another one here, and it's gone in by Capioli. Capioli's first goal since moving from Roma, on his third appearance for his new club. Dilivio, Zidane. And Zidane is through here. Boksic! How many times has he hit the frame of the goal in the last few months? Even when he did score, his shot came back off an upright. And Peruzzi seems to have a hand injury. He's looking rather anxiously over towards the bench, where Rampoula's ready to come on. It's another useful cross. Peruzzi could be in trouble here. And Poggi unable to beat him. Poggi, the former Torino player, has found Peruzzi in outstanding form. And Peruzzi at last has succumbed to this hand injury. And Rampoula will replace him after 61 minutes. Lombardo. And this is Zidane. They're queuing up in the middle. Del Piero. Deschamps. And that should kill off Udinese now. And that goal had "Made in France" written all over it. With a slight help of an Italian, Alessandro Del Piero, who just wormed it back into Deschamps' path there. Terrific finish by Deschamps.
That win takes Juve back to the top of Serie A, and with no more Champions League distractions until March, that could be bad news for the other title contenders. Elsewhere, Vicenza's fairy tale success story continues. Inter are still right in contention, Bologna and Napoli are going well, while Fiorentina are showing ominous signs of recovery. Meanwhile, the reigning champions Milan, although down in 7th, are far from out of things. In the bottom half, things are finally improving for Lazio. But for Parma, things are just getting worse. They haven't won a game in 2 months and are getting dangerously close to the relegation zone. Elsewhere, rock-bottom Reggiana secured their first away point of the season last Sunday, but the bottom 4 remains unchanged. In the scoring charts, Gabriel Batistuta made his first appearance of the season after last Sunday's goal against Perugia. Otherwise, there's no change in the Capocannoniere standings. Tomorrow, Batistuta and Fiorentina will be hoping to continue their recent revival at the expense of Udinese. Elsewhere, Napoli will be aiming to maintain their surprise top 5 slot as they visit a surprise underachiever, Roma, in a game known as the Derby of the South. Back up north, Milan visit Serie A's bottom club, Reggiana, in a game they must win to revive their championship defence. Meanwhile, Serie A's leading club, Juventus, should retain top spot as they play host to struggling Verona. In the evening game, Juve's closest rivals, Vicenza, will be aiming to make Parma's disastrous start to the season even worse. However, the biggest game of the day sees Sampdoria visit title-chasing Inter, and that's our live match tomorrow. This week, James Richardson has been looking forward to what promises to be a great game with one of Italian football's greatest stars.
Ken, there are plenty of reasons to tune in tomorrow. Yuri Djurkaeff, Paul Ince, Peter Brankley. However, for the conoscenti, dare I suggest, there's one attraction that outweighs all the others, and that is the chance to spend an afternoon in the company of Roberto Mancini. To descend, if I may, into cliché for a moment, he is the troubled genius of Serie A, a man capable of this and this and this. But who can also come up with this And that. And, well, the other. Roberto's latest wheeze back in November was, of course, to demand, after 15 years at Sampdoria, an immediate transfer to Inter Milan. A shocking idea, and one which kept the nation on the edge of its seat for around 10 days. Well, the transfer didn't go through in the end, and now on the eve of the meeting between Sampdoria and Inter, it's thus at Genoa that we catch up once more with Mancio at the Tipico restaurant just up the road from Samp's training ground. Roberto, cominciamo innanzitutto con l'Inter, che è stata la storia, insomma, più...
Infinito.
È infinita, sì. Ma è finito ora, no?
Sì.
Sì.
Sì, sì, in questo momento sì, ormai è stata una storia di novembre, no? Un momento così, però adesso la cosa importante è che la Samp vada bene, poi l'Inter ormai è acqua passata.
Avevi a quanto pare questa idea che volevi spostarti proprio per il fatto di avere l'opportunità di finire la carriera con delle grandi competizioni?
Io posso ancora giocare tanto ad alti livelli, quindi avevo questa possibilità e mi sarebbe piaciuto sfruttarla. Ecco, dopo tanti anni ho avuto tante proposte, sempre rifiutate tutte, sono sempre rimasto qui perché la Sampdoria è sempre stato tutto per me e adesso mi sembrava forse il momento di poter cogliere un'occasione importante, ecco, però non è capitata e non è successo.
Per cui tutti amici come prima, tua posizione sarà stata almeno subito dopo un po' difficile alla Sampdoria, no?
Sì, ma è un po' difficile anche adesso, perché penso che ci siano anche dei tifosi che forse non ho capito e giustamente sono anche arrabbiati, ma io sapevo anche prima che sarebbe successo questo, però non mi cambia niente, nel senso che mi dispiace, però il mio amore, il mio impegno per la squadra sarà lo stesso dell'anno scorso, lo stesso ecco, quindi...
Hai fatto riferimento ai tifosi, che chiaramente c'è stata quella partita contro il Piacenza in cui si sono proprio sopra...
No, lì sono stati meravigliosi. Una partita, un giorno molto bello per me.
Tu sei uscito dal campo quel giorno pensando che sarebbe stata l'ultima?
Forse sì. Sì, penso di sì.
E che effetto faceva?
Erano sensazioni che si intrecciavano, sensazioni diverse. Bello perché quel giorno lì mi hanno trattato veramente come è impossibile, penso poter trattare un giocatore, ecco. Poi allo stesso tempo il pensiero di poterli lasciare, erano un po' sensazioni un po' diverse.
Perché era questa l'impressione che tu magari dopo, quanti 16 anni ora?
15.
15 anni alla Sampdoria pensavi, ho fatto il mio dovere, ho preso ma anche dato e poi c'ho un'opportunità di proprio realizzare certi sogni, tipo Coppa Campione, eccetera.
Quella è quella che... Sì.
Vedendo magari Luca o non so chi andare via a vincere certi gol.
No, ma tutti sono andati via.
Tu e Manini?
Sì. Sì, ma chiaro che quel pensiero c'è sempre, però adesso poi uno è giusto che nel momento che questa situazione è finita non è neanche giusto ritornarci sopra o parlare di nuovo, ecco, è finita, ognuno deve andare per la propria strada e pensare alla propria squadra.
A somewhat melancholy Mancini then, trapped as he is in a very gilded cage at Sampdoria. What a career he's had though, the first ever £1 million teenager in the world of course, and now the scorer of more Serie A goals than any other current player. What's more, he offers quality as well as quantity. Mancini is a maverick and sometimes very naughty too, but he's almost always entertaining, and it sounds like thankfully he will be around for a while yet. Finito il discorso Inter, per il secondo anno di seguito, tanto. E per l'anno prossimo quale storia avremo di Mancini sul trasferimento?
No, ma io ho un contratto ancora lungo, 4 anni.
Dove era anche l'anno scorso?
Sì. No, un contratto ancora lungo e adesso... preferisco avere un po' di tranquillità in questo momento, perlomeno per i prossimi 2 o 3 mesi.
Ok. No, solo perché in Inghilterra stanno già parlando di Mancini al Blackburn, ho visto questa settimana che ci vuole un po' di fantasia per quello.
Hanno delle belle maglie.
Cosa?
Hanno delle belle maglie, dico.
E Blackburn sì, mi piacciono pure a me. Sì. Del resto?
Non conosco, Blackburn.
No.
No.
No, infatti. Ma il discorso in Inghilterra ti interessava l'anno scorso?
Sì, era un'esperienza che mi poteva affascinare, sì.
Poteva.
Sì, ma l'anno scorso sì, poi come ho detto l'anno scorso ho rinnovato anche il contratto, quindi adesso è difficile, ma vediamo.
Vabbè, se dovessi mettere, cioè se dovessi io scommettere...
Cosa
sul
scommetteresti?
Sì, esatto. No, su che cosa scommetterei io?
Eh.
Cioè sul futuro di Mancini, se starai qui l'anno prossimo. Ora non lo so, sì, probabilmente metterei dei soldi che ci sarai. Ma tu?
Anch'io.
Ah, non sembri tanto felice?
No,
Sì.
sì.
ok,
No, anch'io perché io ho un contratto lungo, nel senso che bisogna essere in due per...
Sì.
quindi
Ok,
vediamo.
ok. Comunque, il discorso Blackburn è un discorso...
No, non lo so, ho letto anch'io, ma non so assolutamente niente.
Pure a me. E la Sampdoria? Punta su un posto di UEFA?
È difficile, secondo me è difficile. Cioè non è che posso dire sì andiamo in Coppa UEFA, non abbiamo penso le possibilità in questo momento per andare in Coppa UEFA. Perché poi bisogna vedere quanti posti ci sono, non penso che possiamo arrivare settimi.
Chi metteresti allora nei primi 7?
Juve, Inter,
Milan?
Parma, Fiorentina, Lazio e Roma. Poi Vicenza, Bologna, Sampdoria, Napoli, queste squadre qua.
Ok. E se vincete alla grande domenica non cambierà tua idea?
No, assolutamente.
Ok.